Right now with this Black Mage, your biggest question is what is for sale in that Black Magic shop? Do you have something that can sweep an early game party? Do you have something that gives you the ability to kill Garland and get access to key items? The answer to these questions and more is coming your way soon.
Oh, well, we got the answer to the first thing, and it was, as I cursed back in the room before everyone could hear me, more Black Mages. So it's all Black Mages all the time, 24 hours a day, with Lit 2 and Lock 2 being the good ones they have there. Lit 2 is going to be a decent sweeper for the early game. Lock 2 is going to be handy when they finally get up to the bosses.
Lit 2 with that many Black Mages is going to be handy for everything other than a boss fight. So
yeah.
That's in plenty supply. There'll be a lot of charges available. Just make sure you save yourself enough money to stay at the end.
What's also important, I note, is there are plenty of cat claws in the Canaria shop. So if you want to play 4 Black Mages through the entire game, you got the cat claws to do. I wouldn't recommend that.
So even if you didn't have a multiplier on experience, having the 350 with, 4 imps even would be a lot of experience and enough to level you up a couple times. So I wouldn't mind clearing one out, going right back to the inn, and getting all those spell charges.
And Caleb immediately gets a pack of 5 imps right here. That's nice to see right off the start. That's decent experience, decent gold. Go hit that inn, because Caleb hadn't actually hit the inn yet. I think he may have been out of money. So now he's good. Now his party members aren't going to die immediately.
Yeah, and now he's going to have at least these spell charges for all 3 of those mages.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be enough. You could get up to Garland, but they both decided to take the same gamble and go to Provoca first.
I can't blame them for that. You really want to know if Provoca is actually going to be Provoca, and then if it's going to have the spells you want there. And it's on rack, and probably not.
It does have tents, though. That is a very valuable thing in the item shop. They're at a decent price. You can do a lot of overworld saving with that.
Saves come your way to the encounter table, yeah.
Heals are up on price, so we're not going to be able to buy a ton of them early. And we get a fighter, which is probably what they were looking for.
Honestly. A meat shield to stand in front and take the hits. Now you will notice, those of you in the chat and watching online, Caleb has a 3-party member party that he's working off of, a fighter and 2 Black Mages, whereas Dang right now has a 4-party member party, fighter and 3 Black Mages. Caleb does tend to favor the 3-party member layout, going for a better share of the experience amongst the party members that are actually assigned, while Danglu does tend to favor the 4-party members' parties. I think it's just a difference in playstyles and how they like it, and at this point they're both kind of settled into what they're doing, and hoping that each of their strategies is going to pay off.
There's a couple advantages to running that 3-man. One is you're actually making it more likely enemies are going to target the character in the first spot. So if you have a tank and then squishy mages, it does protect the squishy mages a little bit better than 4 party does. That rune sword's going to be handy. It's a decent enough weapon to stick in the hands of our fighter. The other thing that it's doing is, because we don't have static XP on, you're getting an experience bonus for everybody, so hopefully you're getting that little bit higher level before the final dungeon than somebody else would with 4 party members.
And we already know that there's an opal armor in the Canaria shop at the start, so if they decide to carry that fighter through to the end game, they've got basically end game armor they can do. Opal's not quite as good as Dragon because it doesn't have all the protections. Armor class is the same though, and honestly, if you find a ribbon, it doesn't matter if you have Opal or Dragon, they're working the same at that point.
Yeah, and it'd be really awkward to switch out the fighter if you went and picked them up. If you start a seed without one, okay, maybe they don't get it, but if you went ahead and got one, you're going to carry it all the way, because it's so unlikely you aren't going to find a good sword they can use. But of course, that's class change locked, so you have to find the tail, but that is one of the incentive items. Meanwhile, Dengwu is going to be the first to battle Ganon. Not Ganon, Garland. I may have been watching Zelda earlier. Garland is down. He's been knocked down. The princess is rescued. Spider's joining us in chat the first time in a while, and just noticed the Twitch upgrade for this week. The Mystic Key from the Princess. That's a hype item.
That is lovely right there. That opens up a ton of new spots for them to check and puts one of our potential spots in play. We have what we like to call tri-state in effect right now. Tri-state flags are something new that's been added to the randomizer in the last couple of months, and what it means is that you can... a lamp shirt. That's awesome. Lamp is actually not at all useful at all, but that might be worth money, or it's just armor you can throw on a white mage or a black mage if you have one of that. As I was saying,
it'll either be the white or black shirt. We don't know what yet.
We don't.
Because it doesn't respect the spell restriction.
So we won't know what that is, but it could be useful armor if it's black mage usable. As I was saying, tri-state flags are something that was new that was added. It means that you can have something that's on or off or a maybe. So when we set something to tri-state, it's a maybe, and we don't know whether or not it's going to be active until it's actually in the seed itself. Our tri-state is something that we do just for fun for these flags, which means we have three areas that we've incentivized: Titan, Earth Cave, and Marsh Loft. One of those three is actually going to be a tri-state, which Danny has chosen and not told us, Danny being our tracker. So we'll know at some point what's going on. So it could be that Marsh, which is now in play, is incentivized, and we'll find out when they finally decide to go there. Now, I see that Melmond is actually Melmond, while Elfland is Provoca.
Yes, and some amazing black magic with Ice 3 and Temper. And I was going to say, this is a rare case where I wholesale disagree with both runners on their routing choice. Because they have that Mystic Key, go over to the dwarfs and get all those treasure chests there. Your money woes are solved for the early game. You can stock up all your supplies, buy all your spells. I don't like leaving that money behind to go explore towns first.
With the Mystic Key in hand, I'd be checking Canaria, I'd be checking Elfland Castle, I'd probably check Northwest Castle, even though I can't find Astos yet. I'd check the Dwarf Caves. I would hit every place I can right now that isn't Marsh. Ouch,
so we have Script Shuffle on, and the best way I've always found to describe Script Shuffle is, do you want Imps with Nuke? Because this is how you get Imps with Nuke. And Lit 3 is close enough to Nuke at this point. So remember how I said I'd love to solve all my money problems? Well, there's the Oxyale, and we can't buy it because we don't have enough money. And as it happens, we have access to Sea Shrine right now. It's over at Provoca. We can't buy the Oxyale because you don't have the money from checking those free chests.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I've found in Town Shuffle, you're sitting there going, oh look, Onrak is here. I probably won't have to worry about that right now because who knows when I'm going to find Oxyale. And then the game, of course, almost immediately gives you Oxyale, and you're like, oh great, now Sea Shrine is on the table. No!
It does work out for him, though, because the Adamant is going to take him right back to Dwarf Cave anyway, so you've got a bunch of... You now have the incentive plus a bunch of treasures there. You've got the key-locked room plus the two that are not key-locked. And then if you wanted to, you could go south, check out Northwest Castle. You've got 3 key-locked treasures there. You also have a couple of trap tiles, if you felt like you needed to get a little something there. We do have level 3 magic now, and Nuke is at level 3. We're going to have plenty of black magic damage to see.
Yeah, and Fade
Life at level 3.
At the level 1 white shop, so if they find a white mage, or a red mage that can use it, they are well stocked on all the magic they could ever want. And yeah, sell that lamp shirt. If you're taking red mages, you don't need that lamp shirt.
Bracken Fast at level 4. This is actually really strong first 4 levels of magic. Got basically one spell you want on every level.
Oh yeah, no, it's fantastic. I laughed at them for suffering the early Black Mage start, but it really doesn't seem like it slowed them at all. Now, there's something I don't like to see. Expensive Pro Ring.
That is a very expensive Pro Ring. We do have random armors on, so it's not necessarily just the 3 that would be in vanilla.
Could be more, could be less. There's no guarantee of a single Pro Ring being out there, so... Knowing that Pro Rings are sitting there for 28,000?
It's a little more certain than that, but it's not certain to find one.
Yeah. We also found the Alit Gauntlet and the Dark Hammer over in the top of Topher, or just Toph. Those are nice to sell. I don't think anyone's going to care about casting Dark on any of the enemies.
So real quick to explain what Caleb was doing, he was doing some reset strats to explore the encounter table. That area is well known for having Peds in the wild, which are nicknamed EXPeds. There's the lit shirts, now we found both the white and black shirts. But those Peds, great early game experience if you can get them off a reset power cycle type thing. So Caleb was seeing if he could find any, he didn't, then he moves on.
It's smart. I will do the same thing when I'm in that town and I'm looking at needing to have some money. But yeah, sometimes you're like, the Peds take too long to get to, or suddenly something in the middle has some nasty spells, and you're just like, no, I'm okay exploring this, I'm gonna move on and try and find something else. No point in wasting time while I'm here.
Dangmu, you're killing me! Go to see the dwarves!
You have that adamant, just turn it in for us already.
Question chat, how many loose items? We don't actually know because of the tri-state flags, so there could be 2 to 3.
Yeah. Minimum 2. Which will include potentially Masamune Defense Sword, whatever defense is actually worked out to be because of random item magic, and Opal Bracelet. Those 3 are in the pool as well, so there's a possibility any one of those could be loose, which will eat up a loose item otherwise, and means more key items are in key locations.
Okay, now Dangmu's going back, and I will say in his defense, I wanted to see what was in here, but you check out that town, it could have been the Circle of Sages, and maybe you get the TNT there, so you save yourself a trip. Silver Sword is going to be a pickup.
Yeah, Silver Sword is nice because it's the non-element version of the flame and ice swords and all that. And we got the crystal, so another turn-in that we get to do. It's just Dangmu actually doing proper routing instead of giving us what we want to know when we want to know it. I mean, playing the game instead of playing for the audience. Output.
Taking a chance to have a chat with Narek, but can't do anything without the TNT. We can do a lot with the ribbon, though. Remember what I said about this cave fixing your money problems in the early game? Oh my!
It's what, like
over 40,000 gold in that room.
Oh, lovely. And I noticed that he didn't decide to go and hit Matoya ahead of time, so he didn't have that rune sword. Now he's not going to need it, because silver's just better to have around.
Probably still throw it on a red mage.
I tend
just
to forget.
Swords don't run out of MP.
They don't. And I know red mages are useful for swords, but I tend to forget they're there. I just tend to use them as less squishy black mages mostly.
Yeah, well, half the time they're getting Cure 4, so...
Yeah. Oh, and I love it when they get Cure 4 or Life 2, and I'm happy to have that white magic on them, but... just the fact that their health growth is better than a black mage makes them slightly more useful to me.
I didn't touch on this earlier, but obviously free canal there, so they're able to sail out and explore the world with the ship. Nice thing about cruising around in the ship is it has a lower encounter rate than walking around on ground, so you speed things up.
Plus, they're going to get a bonus into their experience when they hit 12 key items. The free canal and free bridge, free ship, those are 2 of them that automatically count towards it. So all the freebies that they get at the start of the game take off how many they actually have to find later in the game and mean they're that much closer to actually getting their key item numbers.
Yeah, now of course the treasure items like a Masamune do not count towards that. It's got to be one where if you opened it treasure chest, you would get the fanfare. That's the best way I have of describing it.
Yeah, that is easily $50,000 in that treasure room right there. That is a fantastic amount of money.
We get the bottle. Now, we do not have Gaia yet.
Not yet. There's a possibility that it can still be lurking somewhere they can get to, but that means it'd have to be at the on-rack location. And checking the
Hooray!
That's... Hooray! So the likelihood of the bottle being useful to them right this second is lowered, but that doesn't prevent it from being at on-rack where you can turn in and getting the floater and kicking yourself for not going there sooner. Who knows?
So I always try and figure out what the seed is telling me. We have the Oxy. We have access to the Sea Shroud.
Mm-hmm.
We have access to Earth Cave up to Vampire.
Mm-hmm. And there's a possibility it's incentivized.
There's a possibility that's incentivized. There's a possibility Marsh is incentivized, but if I'm not mistaken, Marsh Locked is incentivized.
It's the Marsh Lock, but they do have the key. That's the important thing to note.
Yeah. You've got enough levels now. Marsh Cave's gonna be non-bearable from where Dengwu is. I think that's the play.
I think if you're feeling not spicy, Marsh is probably the play. I think if you're feeling spicy, you go to Sea Shrine and check out Mermaid Side first. And I mean, I would do that because there's chest density there, you've got enough lit 2s and nukes and everything else. I mean, you even have Brack, so if you do check the boss and find that it's Kraken, because we have randomized bosses going on right now, I think you got enough that you could potentially take on everything if you're lucky. And, I mean, this is Final Fantasy Randomizer. We're all about the gambles here.
No warp, no exit makes any dungeon dive feel a little worse. Especially if we might have to double dip. But at the point we're going into Marsh Cave, we're a little over leveled for it, actually.
We are.
So there's plenty available to do that. Going for Northwest first. Didn't save. That's a bold
Now,
play.
metagaming here. Knowing the metagame and knowing how things are with this game at this point and how these players are, I would not be surprised if Dengwu does, hey, loose loot at Northwest Castle. I would not be surprised if Dengwu heads to Marsh to take care of it. And the reason I wouldn't be surprised is because in playing in recent games with Caleb likes to do an early Marsh play because he knows no one else will go there. And in a couple of the times that we've done these seeds, not these particular seeds, but seeds in general, he's found 2 of the loose items that he needed over in Marsh Cave. So there's a strong possibility that Marsh is the play.
There's a strong possibility we're going to see death in March because zombies have damage poison.
Oh! That's knowledge Caleb has. Yeah, Dengwu doing the right thing and saving, even if he doesn't realize the danger.
Always save. There's so many different enemies down here that the skill shuffle, just logically, there's going to be on average some. Hey, ice armor, great pickup.
Solid pickup. It's really handy for his character.
Actually, shouldn't have dropped those gloves. Throw them on your red mage for an extra coin or 2 of absorb.
It's free armor. I don't like to throw away any armor when I don't have anything better to put on them. Sure, when you get a pro ring, you want to throw that on instead, but right now, no. But yeah, to your point, there is a high enemy variety here over in Marsh Cave. There's just a lot of different types, and you're going to get a lot of packs with a huge variety of enemies here. If anything's going to roll with awful skills, it's going to be something in Marsh. It's part of the reason why people still hate Marsh, is because of the likelihood of something nasty rolling an awful spell.
It's also true of the Earth Cave. It's the reason some runners just do not like going for an early Earth Cave play, is there's so many different enemies there. As opposed to, say, a volcano. So we're even on key items now as Caleb gets the loot. And he might be following in Dengwu's footsteps. I just feel like this is the right play right now, and if this doesn't work out, you're going to see what Vampire is guarding.
Well, I knew Dengwu basically had to do this because if there's something here that's useful and he didn't, Caleb was going to. What's interesting to me right now is you said that Nuke was at level 3. I note that the red mages on Dengwu's side don't have Nuke. That's a curious fact.
It means he hasn't been to Elf. Which I think was Crescent.
That would explain why he's slightly ahead of Caleb here in his exploration. He's done many of the same things Caleb has, but he got into Marsh Cave a good 2 or 3 minutes ahead of time. So that would take care of that right there. I just think, knowing where Nuke is, playing the metagame as we are sitting on the outside. The more spell charges of useful spells you have coming into March, the better. I think once he sees that nuke, he's going to be like, maybe I should have done that first.
Well, Fade level 1, you think you're okay.
Oh, I mean, yeah. It's just, I've been in March with good spells and still realized I was running low on charges, because it just happens when you're in March.
Yeah, the good news is he's got a whole lot of charges. Bones with Mute, now that's not fun.
As long as they're not
Sword,
unrunnable.
so that's an upgrade to Silver.
That's the Bane Sword right there. So it's an endgame weapon.
No, it was Fire Sword.
No, but it was Capital Fire.
I don't think so.
It wasn't the Flame Sword, it was the Fire Sword, which means it was Fire 1.
Well, that would be really unfortunate then.
No, right? Yeah, I mean, it's you can cast Fire 1 with it, which isn't all that great, and I'm pretty sure that eats up the Bane Sword, so in all respects, that's not so good. So we got a question in chat asking about where the tail. The tail! That's useful for fighters, and that's what we have right now. Got a question in chat asking about where the A-Mute helmet is. A-Mute being the spell that's good to use when you have enemies that like to cast Mute. Problem with casting A-Mute is you have to get it off before an enemy that casts Mute casts on you. Because if you get muted, you're not casting anything, whether by your own spells or by casting items. It's kind of obnoxious. A-Mute helmets, not so useful.
Alright, Dengwu just did a very brave thing. Dengwu opened the bottle and released the fairy. The reason that's a brave thing is when you're not there in Gaia to go right to the fairy, you're not going to have a reminder in your inventory anymore. That is the reason that even if it moves my heal potions out of order, I personally would rather have the bottle in my inventory.
Yes, I fully agree with you. Having done a seed where I forgot I had the bottle because I released the fairy and then didn't ever go and check the fairy, it's always better to have that reminder in your... The last thing you want to do is forget her.
It's also true of the translated slab. Disappear from inventory, so if you're going straight to Lethane, you may want to hold off.
Yep. Once again, very true. We will note that Caleb is playing the music of our people. He's got people that are poisoned, and we get to hear that lovely poison noise. Yeah, that was a fire sword.
Capital. Okay.
Yeah. That is an unfortunate item to see.
Yeah, fire instead of flame. That'd be a thing too, you know.
Yeah.
If I think.
It's all good.
So, back to a point I made like 20 minutes ago. Go to Dwarf, get money, and buy supplies, because Caleb doesn't have pures. That also means he doesn't have soft potions, and it's usually a good idea to run around with a couple of those.
I mean, he is playing really risky. We were seeing earlier that we had spiders with heat, and heat against someone that's wearing ice armor doesn't seem all that bad, but when you're losing a couple points of health every step you take because of the poison, and then you're, like, stuck wandering around taking damage left and right, a heat's suddenly going to be very deadly to you. That is not what you want to see. That nuke's not going to work, Caleb. You're muted.
Looks like the play for Dengwu now is going over to Crescent, although if he threw down the save, I think he did, he's going to be able to reset out of that when he sees Elf, if he so chooses. The advantage of that... Well, it's going to be an advantage either way. Either you're going to get level 3 nuke, or you're going to save and walk back.
So Caleb is in a precarious position right here. He's trying to walk out what he got, and he got some decent stuff, so he doesn't want to lose it. But it's also the thing of, if he dies, I'm kind of curious if he's going to come back, because the best thing he found here was Tail. And if he's in the mood instead to just, like, black belt his way through the game... Ouch, he got nuked, or muted again. If he's in the mood to black belt his way through the game, he may not care so much about that, Tail.
Yeah, he got the ice armor out of here. That's probably a little more value even than the tail is. But I think
certainly
if you
not
like,
that fire sword. Fire Sword is a great endgame weapon for your guy because it's a defense sword and you don't have anything better right now, but at the same time, it's not worth, like, walking out if that's the best thing you found.
No, and it may be decent money to sell, but he gets out of there with just mono.
So Danglu lucks out and finds that Gaia was at the on-rack location. So, if he released that bottle when he did, he doesn't have to remember it because he's already coming here.
Alright, let's see what the fairy has to offer. It's the herb, so we can wake up the prince.
Another nice turn, and the quest chains continue. Oh, and Fire Sword was loose, wasn't it?
Yes,
that
it
wasn't
was.
a loose chest, so that's one
Yes,
of our
that was
3
the
loose
normal
items,
Marsh incentive.
which isn't incentivized right now. So that was actually a loose Fire Sword.
Mhm.
So depending upon what our tri-state works out as, that's one of our 3 loose items potentially.
Loot was also.
You're right, that was in Northwest, so
So we either are in no mode or there's one more loose.
yeah. Which means that, you can't check Titan yet until you have that ruby.
No, wait. Because the tail, we are in no mode. It's going to be the incentive locations from now on. Because that answered our tri-state.
Did Danny tell us that Marsh was the tri-state?
We saw the tail.
But it's a possibility it's Marsh-locked or Earth Cave or Titan that's
Okay, yes, there's a 1 in 200 chance, alright?
I'm just saying there's a
We saw the
possibility.
tri-state. That's what I'm thinking if I'm a runner. We saw the tri-state.
Yes, that's fair. I will not debate that with you. I'm just saying there's
Actually, it doesn't even matter, because if it is the loose, the logic's the exact same.
Well, no, but if there's still a chance that Titan or Earth Cave could have nothing in them, which would mean we'd still have a 3rd loose. Whatever the case, if I was the runners, I would be hoping that I'm in no mode and I just continue doing what I do.
Yeah, no, there's still other things you want.
Yes, yeah. But at this point, depending upon what you're going to do for your party, I'm just like, okay, I can now just pick and choose where I go and what chests I check, because I feel like I'm in no mode. I'll check. I probably won't go out of my way for mermaids if I don't have to. I'll hit the easy.
You want to go for Volcano Armory.
Yes,
you want
exactly.
to get 3 in ice before you drop down. You want easy stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, the stuff that you can check, and if you feel like you've gotten what you needed out of a place, you bail. Especially if you have Exit or War. So, like, the chests along the path and ordeals are easy to check, I'll do those. The stuff in Waterfall. But if I'm in this position, I'm not checking, like, Mirage Level 2, probably the top 2, or the bottom 2 floors of Sky. I'll probably do some of the easy greed chests on Sky 3 before I move on, but I'm gonna try and burn through only the greed chests and move on with my life.
We've got 2 possible locations for Crescent Lake. It could be Gaia, it could be Lefane. The other one has to.
Yeah, either of them are possibilities, and I don't believe we've actually seen Lufane. So, Lufane, one way or another, is going to be either vanilla or French vanilla.
Either way, it's going to be airship required.
100%. Caleb heading to on-rack. Caleb appears to be making the spicy on-rack play.
Ruse at level 4, by the way, is non-terrible, especially with the lack of a defense sword, because it is the same spell. So, worst comes to worst, you can stick a red mage in the front of your party, start throwing ruses out, and it's the same as having a defense sword.
Yeah, it's the thing of having, if you go with the 3-man strats, your back 2 party members, you have a gap at the 2nd position. Your front guy is going to get hit, quote-unquote, 50% of the time. But if you have your other 2 party members at the back 2 slots, you're looking at them each only getting hit 12.5% of the time, and whenever it goes to the 2nd player position who would get hit, the game does a reroll, which really makes the odds more likely that your front person is going to get hit. So when boss fights, a red mage with ruse casts can basically cast that upon themselves a bunch, and then they can't be hit physically, and your back two party members are that much more safe by comparison. It's a solid strategy I've seen a lot of the pros do at this point.
So the Sahag formation, we saw launch Fire 2, which was more than Caleb could handle at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he was healed up going in there, and let that be a lesson to you.
I thought he hit the end, but it's a possibility he may have just saved and not actually used the end. But, I mean, you get enough, like, Fire 2 casts on you, I don't think it really matters how healed up you were if you don't get, like, good turn order.
This is a nice thing about Pro Rings being for sale, even if they're expensive. You know where they are, and you can pick them up when you're going to have a shortage of items found. Which, that's going to happen this seed. This is going to be a probably starved for resources seed. In fact, I really am surprised that Caleb is going to the mermaids here. We will see how that works out, but the sharks... Oh, that's the angry sharks have ruse, so they're going to be harder to hit. And it looks like their magic defense didn't do too bad.
Well, the nice thing about coming here, even if it's just for a mermaid's play before you battle...
That's worth it. Walking that out.
Oh, yeah, no.
Is 100% a keeper.
I mean, even if you have fast casts on your party members, that's still a great one to have, because now you don't actually have to stress about using those spell slots.
Yeah,
okay,
you can
so
now
I
use it for every single boss fight for the rest of the game.
100%. That's so nice to have. So I got confirmation from Danny. The tri-state for us is actually Titan's Trove. So if I was a runner, I'd do the math and be like, screw it, I'm going to bank on the fact that I found all the loose and I'm going to move on with my life. As a commentator now, though, I'm kind of hoping that Titans has nothing, just to see what they do when they get there.
Well, there certainly is still the chance that it's equipment. I mean, I called myself out on this already. If I were a runner, I would have missed that. I would have said, okay, that had to be the tri-state item in Marsh, so let's move on.
Yeah. I mean, and it's a thing about play, is there are some days I'm playing this game, and I'm super thrown. I'm like, there's a possibility this isn't the one I'm looking for, I need to keep diving everything. There's also the possibility that, I'll sometimes be like, okay, I got what I need, I'm going to make the gamble and say that I don't have to worry about anything else, let's move on with our lives. So, I mean, I can understand them doing basically either decision.
The backup strat, though, when you don't find it, is you go hit the other tri-states and say, well, what if that was the one?
And Earth is on the table. I mean, that's the thing, it's like, sitting in the position... Yes.
Clarify something, because I'm looking at the flags to double check myself. Marsh Locked was an incentive location, so that was not a loose one.
Don't forget...
Titans is tri-stated, but it
was... Nope. Because when we roll these seeds, we have our tri-state.
I'm literally looking at the flags we rolled.
Oh, the ones that we rolled.
Yes, the actual seed that they're playing on. That was the second
Danny
defense.
Told me it was
Fire
Titans.
Sword.
Did she lie?
No, it is Titans. It's Marsh Locked is incentivized anyways.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what I had in my notes from before. I just wasn't positive because I thought you knew these better than me. That's what I get for trusting you. We have a second ribbon, by the way.
No, but that was what I was saying. I was like, if I'm the runners, I'm in their position, I won't know which one of the three is incentivized. So I'm going to keep being thorough just because. Now, we know that what Danny chose, so that's different, but in the runners...
Let me really complicate this logic right now. So, the defense sword was in the incentive pool.
Yes.
And we found a loose defense sword in Marsh. So you still could have made the exact same assumption that you have found your loose items and go forth.
Yes.
However, because we just found a second one in Sea Shrine, that means it wasn't the incentive item, because it couldn't be multiple if it was the incentive item. So if you keep up with your convoluted logic, that means what did tell you that you're probably in no mode just now told you that you're not.
You're right, and it's because I said before it was the Bane, not the defense, and then I immediately confused myself. This is item magic, people! Even the commentators who know the flags will forget what the heck it is that they're talking about.
So I guess that supports the logic of check everything anyways until you're sure.
Yes. And there's a reason they're running these flags, and I'm sitting here behind the microphone trying to stay far away from them.
So with no cube, you can't go to the third floor of... Well, you can go to the third floor and fight Blue Dragon if you wanted to, but you can't advance to Sky Castle without the cube.
Yeah. Yeah, Chime is nice. I think if they're desperate and they can't find the items they're looking for anywhere else, then Chime is a good check to make, because there's nice chest density on the first 2 floors. But I don't feel like that's a play you want to make quite yet, even with good spells. So at this point, I mean, there's a possibility we're going to get a grind, and we're going to see like one of them swap out for a black belt or something else if they feel like they need to. But up until they decide to swap for a black belt, I kind of feel like at this point we are settled on our teams, and there's a good chance at least one of these 2 parties is going to remain exactly in the composition you're seeing it right now, except for maybe upgrading with a tail.
So now I'm trying to figure out what the seed is telling us at this point, because we don't have access to Titans, we don't have access to Sarda, we don't have access to Ice or Ordeals, we need the canoe for that.
Here's what I'm thinking.
We probably got a loose canoe or floater here in the Sea Shrine.
It's a possibility. I think if it was me, I'd finish exploring this. Caleb's already pot committed to finishing this out, especially since he doesn't know what the boss is, and without knowing any better, he's got a 25% chance of it being Lich down here, for example. It could be anyone. So, good odds that it's going to be something that he actually can take on with the party he's at right now. My thought would be that after you finish out this and see what's down here and you see what the treasures are, you go and you dig out the top 3 floors of Earth. Because that Earth chest you can get is incentivized behind the vampire. And if it was me, I'd be sitting there going, I bet you money the ruby is behind the vampire, and then the next 2 key items I need, like canoe and floater, are sitting there at Titans and Sarda.
Sometimes nothing in Randomizer is a bigger troll than when it's vanilla.
Yup. And that's the thing, is the logic with the Randomizer used to be where it didn't pay attention to any particular linear path. It used to just be like, I'm going to dump the things here, and I'm going to double check to make sure that you can actually finish the seed. But for the beta set that we have running right now, the devs went through in the last year and rewrote the logic so that it actually has a certain amount of actual quote-unquote logic to it. So there's a good chance the seed is actually telling us, go to Earth, you got the ruby there, you can finish out your seed.
I think when you put yourself in the runner position, the tri-state logic is telling you that, but that also means that it's a double dip of Earth Cave, because there isn't any other way that works out.
But
there's the loose floater!
Oh! Okay, so that takes out one of the things I was talking about. I was hoping the loose floater was back there, but it's not, and that will open up Gaia and Lufane. Doesn't open up, and it opens up Ice Cave. It's good to have Ice Cave on the table. Opens up Volcano. It doesn't open up Ordeals or Waterfall, though.
No, canoe required for those, but it gives us the Sage's item, it gives us the Sarda item.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 more key item checks really quickly. And we've got Ice Cave, which is not as quickly, but a 3rd incentive location for that.
And if any of those 3 are slab, that's a Lufane check they can make at that point as well, because they already know where Melmond is, and they know Lufane has to be at least French.
There's the Ice Sword, and that will be an upgrade.
Handy to have, nice to see. Put the fast axe on your fighter. Not sure I necessarily agree with that logic, but okay.
Sacrificing one round of attack buff, I mean, that is what you do with Power Gauntlet anyways, so it's not that foreign a concept.
It's just you have to sacrifice it with Power Gauntlet because Power Gauntlet only targets the user, because it's the Saber cast. When it's fast, though, you can place it on someone else and you can get extra rounds of some other buff off your fighter if you want, or just have him come out swinging from the beginning, because nothing takes down a boss faster than overwhelming damage.
Alright, about to find out who the boss of this sea shrine really is.
Oh,
and it's Tiamat. Now, do we have Brack? Do we have usable Brack?
I don't think he bought Brack.
Well, that'll be a lesson to him then.
Mm-hmm. But he's going overwhelming damage, which is smart. Oh, and Tiamat has nothing in the way of physical damage, yeah.
We don't know the script yet.
No, but as far as like actual physical damage is concerned, that was a
very good nuke roll. Here comes Ice 2. Devastating to the mages. They can't survive another spell.
Either of those doing okay.
Only one hit.
Dark's nothing.
No, but that lets him get more tempers off, so that's very welcome around.
Another kitten scratch from Tiamat. 2 more tempers come out.
Yeah, at this point he's taken enough damage he's going to be close. Especially that puts him over 800.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's...
Oh, yeah.
Overhead. There we go. 600 damage. That'll do.
He lucked out because Tiamat didn't have any power, and that Tiamat didn't decide to follow up the Ice 2 with some other nasty spell. But that was played perfectly from Caleb's end. Start to finish, he took out that Tiamat, and he's up 1 crystal to 0 right now.
Plus the floater.
Plus the floater. He does have that knowledge over Caleb, although more than likely Caleb is going to do all the same checks and move on with his life and get his floater. But do note that it happens that fast. Caleb went off and did some checks while... No, Caleb. Dingu went off and did some checks and has the herb that Caleb did not. But Caleb now has 1 crystal up. So even if you thought Dingu was in the lead because he went to Mars before Caleb, that quickly, I would say it's probably evened up right now. So for those that are just joining us here at the 42-minute mark, this is the Road to SG Live, a weekly thing that we are doing, a regular event, leading up to Speed Gaming Live coming up at the end of October, where we will be there live, playing a variant of these flags you're seeing tonight. This is our 12th match of the night, and you can see right now Caleb is up 7-4 over Dangwu, once we finally did the math and remembered exactly how far up he was. Because math is hard on Twitch, as Triton will attest to that.
It always betrays you.
It always betrays you.
Also, quick thank you to Danny the Fantastic being our tracker of the scene.
Danny is great. Danny is part of our regular team. And
Caleb, what are you doing? What are you doing, Caleb? You have the... Oh, he can't use it. There's no dock. We sailed by it. This is open progression. He does not have access to turn in the floater.
You are correct. So everything
smarter than I was on this one.
We said is a lie. He is going to have to go here to actually figure out how to use his floater and hope that the key item here at Earth will give him what he needs. But at this point, there's really not that much left on the table he can do. I think Earth is basically one of the last plays he has.
It basically has to be Ruby or Canoe.
Essentially.
Ruby just to make the extra trip.
I was going to say, about the only other thing it could be is Crown, that then leads to either Ruby or Canoe. There's really nothing else left on the table.
Yeah, because even if it was Rod to allow you access to more treasures, well, nothing there is incentivized. Oh, there we go.
Loose Crown.
That's it.
So, that was Loose Loot, Loose Crown, Loose Floater.
Loose floater.
Unless we see a cabin from one of our key item people, I think that means that Titan turned itself off during our Tri-State.
I think you're right, because also defense is loose.
Mm-hmm. And I think Caleb just did that
Yeah.
math as well, and he's like, Crown is going to be something, I'm going to go do Crown and not triple dip or double dip Earth.
So that means Masa and Opal are going to be at some location.
In the incentivized
Cube,
pool.
of course, as well. And Rod will be the other thing in go mode.
So just to explain what we mean when we say the possibility that a cabin could be in the pool, when the key items are distributed, there is a chance that one of the items that's a freebie, like the ship or the canal, if I'm not mistaken, could end up on one of our key items. If that happens, because they're freebies, you already get them, the item pool substitutes in a cabin into them, and that pushes another item out into the loose. This is a very rare occurrence with the current item distribution logic that we have. We just have to keep it in mind at any time. There's still a slight chance a cabin could be in the pool.
Well, if Lucleosis were here, he would call that a veteran move by Caleb. He was parked his boat in the right place, because now that he has the canoe, as soon as he beats up Astos, it's a faster trip from there than if he had gone to the northern dock, which
It was smart.
theoretically would have been a little bit closer.
Yeah, because I was sitting there for a second going, where is he sailing to? And then I remembered the dock is on the south side, and it's like, right, that's going to be faster for him to get over to the floater, because sailing eastward from here is much faster than sailing westward.
Dangwu has Brack, but didn't get it on the black mage, it doesn't. So just the red mages to throw Bracks at Tiamat. And first try. That's why you learn Brack.
That is. And that actually gives him a little bit of time up on Caleb, simply because of the fact that he only had to spend one turn fighting Tiamat, while Caleb was in it for, 6-8 turns there? Just a nice time loss that he didn't have to...
Yeah, speeds that part up. He did have the advantage of getting to Crescent sooner, but doesn't really add up much at this point.
No, he's up a couple key items, but Caleb could very easily pick those up once he has the floater. I think right now I would probably say they're at a dead heat together, which honestly is not the position Dangwu wants to be in. Dangwu has lost the last 3 of these matches after he finally tied everything up, and Caleb, if you go through the history of this, has won 7 of the last 8 matches in a row, basically. So he has the power of momentum, and having gotten used to these heats just a little faster than Dangwu, Dangwu wants to put the hurt on Caleb, and he wants every advantage he can get over Caleb to do it.
Well, Brack is a good advantage because it speeds up 2 of the 4 boss fights. And I think he had Quake too, so he could use that to speed up the Lich fight as well.
And he has Zap, which Zap is not a huge chance to hit on carry, but it's carry 1, but it's still better than nothing. And I know I have Zap, carry, and Lich a number of times simply because it's fun. And it works.
Last trip to see the dwarves. Here's the D&D for Narek. What do we have? It's the Rod.
He had to do this, but I always feel dirty when I have to triple dip the dwarves.
Forced double dip of Dwarf Cave. Forced double dip of Earth Cave.
Yeah.
Just had to take a moment to admire that.
Did Dangwu skip Earth 1?
May have go on to the... well, probably to the vampire, see what's there, and then if that doesn't work out, you start on the first floor.
Well, he's gonna get a key item from Vampire, but it may just be Masamune or Opal Bracelet, and honestly, that's gonna work out better for him, because if he skipped, and he's skipping most of the chests on Earth 2, he needs to go get that crown, and if he skipped Earth 1, that's a crown he does not have.
Flame Shield, very good find for the fighter. Now you've got the fire and ice armor. Makes the ribbon less valuable, but you get the ribbon, so you don't really need it other than for the absorb, but that was definitely pick up on the absorb. Stinger, one of the most annoying skills in the game, not only AoE, time consuming, and poison.
And the werewolves are just strong enough they can shrug off a single lit 2, so that's not nice to see.
Well, those fades would make it faster on Dengwu's side.
I mean, Caleb has a nuke. He could burn his nukes if he wanted to, but I don't think he wants to with the number of enemy encounters he's going to find down here. Sun Sword is a nice pickup.
So, yet again, we've upgraded the fighter weapon.
And eventually the Red Mage weapon, depending upon what he decides to do.
He hadn't been moving the weapons over to the Red Mages.
Well, once he upgrades with the tail, if he decides to class change, his Bane Sword, which is a fire sword, can go on the fighter, the Sun Sword can go on the Red Mage. Slab does not help.
No, it
Slab
was
is nice
not.
to have.
And now Dengwu's going to be retracing all the steps.
Mm-hmm. Oof.
But to be fair, he was planning on that anyways, because that couldn't have been the rod.
I don't know, I saw a pause from him, though. I think he was hoping that this was going to lead to something. Maybe he did the faulty math that we did. Question in chat about if we've seen Exit or Warp so far. We have not. We do not know where those spells are, I do believe, so that means they're going to be probably 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th level, because I recall seeing the players check most of those. Apparently they did. Warp was in level 5 Melman, so that's useful.
Melman being Melman. Also, the vampire is warped to the 4th dimension.
Zap,
Caleb is go-moding Earth Cave now.
Mm-hmm.
He did not go for the big treasure room.
No. This is not what Dengwu wanted.
To be fair, he knew this was going to be his play when he made it, because, again, it couldn't have been the rod, so he was figuring this seed had to be a double dip.
I just think he was hoping it was going to be something other than Slab. Slab doesn't really do anything for him just yet. Except he's now leaving, so I don't know exactly where he's headed.
Might be just a save, or not. I don't know, I guess he's gonna go translate the slab, but I don't know where else
he can't
would have
turn it
access to now.
Yeah.
Alright, we've got Carrie at the end of Earth Cave, and this is probably the one he's least equipped to fight right now, but Nuke does pretty good stuff.
Oh, and she does nothing for damage when it comes to physical. That's nice to see.
Again, you still have to question what the script is like. 5 damage, that's 5 hits. That's a lot of hits for not doing damage.
Yeah, she's basically a Gurmadusa. And then goes down like it's nothing. So Dang had translated the slab and now is walking back to Earth Cave. I feel like this is a time
Caleb
loss.
should probably have stopped in there and translated the slab first.
Yeah. It's a bit of a mistake there, too.
Treasures in the island.
Yeah, no, I don't complain about this play. If he's still looking for gear, then this is a good play to make. He may still be digging for that dragon armor, hoping he doesn't have to do a black belt grind.
If anything, I think he'd be hoping for a bigger weapon than Sun Sword.
There is that, too. I mean, Bane Sword can be an endgame weapon, it's just not your best one.
You mean defense?
No, it's Bane Sword. We had this problem earlier. It's the Bane Sword because we had 2 of them.
No, it was not incentive because he had 2 of them. If it's capital letters, it was the defense. Or, wait. It's defense if it doesn't have the icon.
Yes.
If it has the icon, it's the Bane Sword.
Yes.
It's randomized treasures, okay? Some of these things are harder to keep track of.
It's just the simple fact that it says fire, so we both for a second there thought, oh, the fire sword! Wait, no, that's not, no. Yeah. Incentivized magic can screw up anyone. So I just saw Caleb class change, which means Caleb is not going to get a black belt because at this point, getting a black belt would be a bad move.
He's got the ribbons, so he wouldn't be as concerned about the magic defense, but there's no opal bracelet to put on the black belt.
Yes.
It's really the big problem of steering you away from that. You just can't defend him, so you've got a glass cannon.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you put any kind of armor at all, and that includes the ribbon, which does 1 point to defense, the black belt does not use his natural defense of, I think, 1 point per level, and instead goes with the defense of whatever he's wearing. It's not cumulative for his natural defense. So if you're going to put a ribbon on a black belt, you have to then give him a full equipment build-out, which ideally is then going to be a pro ring with an opal bracelet.
Yeah. Of course, in the old days of the black belt glitch, you could put the ribbon on and then level up, and then he would ignore the ribbon for defense purposes, but still have it for magic defense. So this is the Confused Old Man. One of them has an item. If you ever want to really confuse people, put the Confused Old Men flag on, and then turn off the early item.
It's so annoying.
Hey, here's the massa. Okay, yes, that's the main sword.
Mm-hmm. So, we still have Lufane, which is going to be at Lufane. If he didn't translate his slab, like we think he did not, ooh, surprise trolls, then that means that he is going to have to go fly away before he can go do Lufane, or, what we're secretly hoping, he decides to go to Lufane anyway and gets Lupin.
Probably the play from here is go to the waterfall, since you're already in the northern part.
He defies us both and goes in a different direction.
He's got Ice Cave and Volcano over this way. He's also got spells to learn with the Knight. One of which I think is Ruse. Or no, that was 4, wasn't it? Life's pretty good, though.
I mean, they're both still missing the cube, which means cube is floating out there and they need to get it from one of the locations that's left. Ice Cave, Ordeals, Waterfall. One of those has probably got the cube in it. Gets his red mage back up. Oh no, he didn't have a red mage. He's buying one. Curious. He buys one but doesn't buy any magic for it?
Well, he didn't revive it either.
Maybe he was just double checking to make sure it was red mages? Okay. Caleb, you're confusing me.
I don't know if he checked the magic at level 1 to see if that Fade was there. He knows he could learn life with it, though.
I'm pretty certain he didn't. I saw him when he was first there. He went to the black magic shop. He skipped the white magic shop. I don't think he ever saw that Fade was at level 1.
He's definitely seen life, though, as now Dangwu gets the airship, so a bit of a lead there for Caleb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had the airship about 10 minutes ago, and he's 1 crystal up right now, working his way towards 2 crystals up. Didn't even bother with the armory. He's basically go with his opal equipment and ribbon. He doesn't care about anything else at this point. The curious thing is, I mean, you've got a knight who's going to be earning spell charges, and you're presumably going to get another 4 or 5 levels on them, at least, before you go to Topher. Even if you don't do any kind of grind. I at least would go check the white magic shop at level 1 for your knight, because he can get a couple of those spells, and then he'd see that Fade is there, and Fade on a knight is lovely.
It is, and you really want to make sure you hit 24 with the knight before you go in Topher. It's not pressing, and you've already dealt with Tiamat, but Kraken's still out there, so you'd kind of like that extra swing before that. But 50-50 chance you're not getting it.
Yeah. Well, and thing is, if you do a grind, at some point you decide you want to grind your fighter up to, or your knight, up to level 24. If you put Fade on him, you've got a backup in case you get an off-step encounter that's nasty that you have to, like, blast your way through. Fade is great for that. He doesn't have that, so right now a grind is not looking so nice for him as much.
No
But that
HP
Lich-
on that Lich.
Yeah, I was about to say,
Or-
hey, we have Lich, and Lich died.
He does not go for Ice Cave. Well, he's right there. If this
Caleb's
is what the
strats.
Red Mage is for, he's not going to have any charges.
It's Caleb. Caleb strats. Caleb does what Caleb does. Maybe he's hoping he doesn't have to do Ice Cave, that Ice will just have, like, Defense Sword or Opal Bracelet, and he can move on with his life.
That's really bold when you know you're missing an item for go mode.
Dang
The
Wu,
biggest thing
meanwhile-
about these dungeons being a pain is they're usually that pain early. So he came to get Warp first. I think he spent more time than he's going to save, honestly.
I do too. Now, I will note that Dang
If
Wu
you're
went
going to Ordeals next, it pays off.
I will note that Dang Wu went into Onrak at Provoka and rebought a fighter over top of his fighter. The reason he did that is any spell charges, as you can see, that his fighter could use for that fade, he now automatically gets for hiring a new one, because when you hire a character, even if you're hiring a character over top of a character you already have, they get all the spell charges, all the magic defense, all the other stuff you would expect them to have at that level if you, like, basically created them from scratch and gave them the best that they could get.
You know, it also really would not be out of the question to bring a second Topher. Use the third Red Mage to speed up your play, getting there, swap them out for a fighter that's got the extra sword swings for
I am 100% in agreement with you on that. Honestly, I do double fighter, double red mage at this point if I'm close to like being ready to just start going and killing fiends and doing that. Because, I mean, Dangwu's sitting on 200,000 money, and even a max price opal armor isn't that bad for him to buy at this point. He can have two knights rocking max price opals with fades, decent swords. Like, he's got a build out that most people would love. This is a great time to do that upgrade if you're going to.
So we finally have Caleb going to see what's in Ice Cave. There's a chance for route divergence to help if Dangwu goes to Castle Ordeals before the Ice Cave.
Mm-hmm. So we have Spider MBI asking in chat about changing party members and how they can do that. This is a new feature that was added in. I think for a little while it was experimental, and then almost immediately we all loved it and beta tested the heck out of it, and it's now just a thing. But what we have is called Tavern Mode. Taverns now replace clinics if you turn the option on. Did he just... Please tell me he didn't just reset out of the rod, that he exited.
I was just noticing Caleb get the
Okay,
cube, but apparently you're right. He's got to go back.
and he has to go back. Okay, so... Taverns replace clinics. You can still revive at the clinics that now say pub above them, but you can also hire party members as if they were basically like fighter guilds or whatever. Each town is going to have a specific class at it. You can hire as many of that class as you want into your party while you're there, and that allows you to kind of build and upgrade and change around your party anytime you want. It's a fantastic feature many of us in the community love, and we are so happy to have it, and that's one of the things that we're showcasing here in this road to SG Live.
Caleb is now taking the long walk. He's going to Lefane, which will be Lefane.
Vanilla
Find
Lufane.
out what the chime is. What are we... We don't have the ruby. It's gonna have to either be here or the waterfall.
Yeah, so we know that defense and opal are two of the items left, along with the ruby, because the cube was over in Ice Cave, which means this will either be the opal, or the ruby to lead to opal, or the defense, or the ruby to lead to defense. There's just not that much left. And at this point, if I was in their shoes, I'd be looking at it going, I'm not sure it's worth it to me, I'm just going to roll with my life.
And there's the opal bracelet, which is going to be the best absorb defense that a mage gets.
He's not going to complain about having it. I personally would have just gone and found some gold bracelets and not stressed over it. Gold or silver or whatever. But
oh wait, Bane. Not great, but okay.
He made the investment of time. He did it. Good for him.
So one of the great things about the randomizer, and we don't talk about this often enough, is how many options there are. So something like Tavern Mode, it isn't forced. It's just an option you can turn on, turn off. Sometimes that is going to be different. Now, to make the Tavern Mode more useful in these flags, they're starting with only one party member. And then they have to go hire the rest of a party if that's what they want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, the Road to SG Live flags were chosen specifically to showcase some of the new features the randomizer can do and how this helps to upgrade and change and modify Final Fantasy Randomizer into something new and interesting. We are playing with all the really out there flags that we have. We're just playing with enough to show, hey, this game isn't your standard Final Fantasy anymore. Here are some of the cool things you can do. Tavern's an easy one to explain. Tavern's an easy one to showcase. Tavern isn't that hard to follow. Something like Floor Shuffle, though, changes the game so much that it's just hard to keep up with as a viewer, let alone as a commentator trying to keep 2 or 4 people straight. So, there were specific flags we chose that work better than others.
The Sorcerers, that is something you don't see every day in Castle Hill. Counter rarity gets shuffled, but that's still not something you see every day. Well,
you see them more.
I kind of corrected myself earlier, and I said, you know what? If Caleb is going to go to Ordeals, the Warp could save time. It's now officially saved time to route in that pickup.
Yeah. Warp is lovely to have at Ordeals because if you're not used to what the randomizer can do, Warp allows you to swap back or cast yourself back to the previous teleporter you used if you took the wrong teleporter in the maze. And the maze pillars are randomized here, so you never know what path you're going to need to take.
Ooh,
now, if you're playing the vanilla game, this wasn't something you could do because you couldn't get Warp until after your class changed, and the only way to class change was to come to Ordeals. So having Warp here would never have been a thing, but because of the randomizer, you get to have it, and it's so helpful.
Also true of Ice Cave. Because you'd have to have the floater to get class change, so there was no way to have Warp vanilla. That's one of the neat things we've been able to discover with the randomizer. And that would be the defense sword. So
which that
Lit
means
3 is not a bad spell either.
No, what was it that was on it?
Lit 3.
No, that's useful to have. That's good to throw on your fighter, not only as a sword, because right now I think it's... No, we have the Masamune, so it's not the best sword they can use, but it's not a bad sword to swing around, but it also means that throw it on your fighter, and that's one more caster.
Well, if you did decide to do a double fighter, now you've got Masa in defense.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. And double fighter really isn't a bad thing to think about at this point. You put the one fighter up front, maybe put a black mage behind him, and then your main damage dealing fighter and a black mage behind. That's a useful combo for defense. You just let the one meat shield stand up front and take the hits, and then you can have your other guy getting buffed and slashing out with attacks behind and doing really nice damage.
Plus with Lit 3, even if you wanted to stick with the 3-man strats, having a Lit 3 for a fighter to throw out against random encounters, not bad.
Mm-hmm. No, it's really useful. You can burn off your early Lit 2 charges and your free Lit 3 charges in Topher, and still have basically all the spells you're going to want to use later without really having to stress over it. Most attacks that you're going to find are going to die to 2 Lit 2s and a Lit 3.
So I think pretty significant likelihood we're going to get the Ruby out of the waterfall here.
Now, I do know that Caleb went to Volcano and he killed Lich there, so he is right now officially 1 orb up on Dangwu, although our tracker hasn't gotten yet. I'm sure Danny just missed that for a second. No big deal there. So Caleb has a slight lead. Not a big one, just a slight one. Oh, Opal Shields there in the armory shop here at the on-rack Gaia, so that makes the fighter build even better, honestly.
Let's see what we... Wait, Dengwu's already been here, so we've already seen this. But Caleb has not.
Yeah, he's still trying to get that chime. That's the thing that he's missing, which explains why he's been going and doing all the checks.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew where everything had to be. Caleb wasn't in no mode yet. And honestly, this helps out Dangwu because this means that Caleb is still looking for items and is forced to go check everything, whereas if Dangwu wants to skip stuff, he can, because he's effectively in go mode at this point.
Caleb did not save outside the waterfall, but he does have warp get out. This is procedurally generated waterfall, so it's generated when the seed is rolled, and it's the same size, but when you don't know the path through here, it can be a little bit harder to navigate.
Yeah, ProcGen Waterfall is one of the flags I really love. Even on, like, easy seeds, I'll still turn it on, just because it's fun to be just go into a dungeon and not know exactly what you're gonna get. And that's the beauty of ProcGen Waterfall, is the fact that you know it's gonna work, because the way that it generates itself means there's always gonna be a path through it. It's nice to have this fun dungeon that you never get the same way twice. We actually have ProcGen on a couple of other...
Lich had damage poison.
Ooh, that's spicy. He fought back for once. So as I was saying, Caleb found a full loot.
That is not something you see every day.
No. So as I was gonna say, we do actually have two other ProcGen floors we could theoretically turn on, Earth 1 and Earth 2. Unfortunately, those ones are a little buggier than the Waterfall Cave is. I've actually played in seeds where for whatever reason, the Earth 1 generates with a wall you can't get through to get to the doorway down, so you can't finish Earth Cave. So those aren't ones that we traditionally turn on unless we're beta testing, but Waterfall is really lovely to have.
So when Caleb didn't save, he also didn't restore his magic, so he's actually running short on resources through this waterfall.
It's a bit tricky. Hopefully he saves at least one warp. But
well,
this is honestly...
Actually, considering he just found the entrance, he could go out.
He could. I'm kind of surprised he didn't, so he can get some houses back and do a save. Maybe he's hoping that that there's nothing here, and he can leave, and just reset right back to the spot where he landed his airship. That would be smart.
Well, no, because he would need the herb back.
Well,
okay,
regardless.
Now he's got his magic charges.
Yeah.
So I guess I have one question about procedurally generated waterfall that I didn't think of till now, but what happens with poor old Out of Bounds Bat?
He is no longer poor old Out of Bounds Bat, far as I know. You don't get to meme with him, sadly.
Then I might not like the plaque anymore.
Fair. I cannot argue that. That is absolutely fair. So this is honestly exactly what Dangwu needed. Dangwu needed Caleb to get caught just doing his thing and not following the path that Dangwu followed, so that Dangwu could get into go mode and Caleb would get stuck exploring somewhere. And honestly, Caleb has invested a lot of time in this waterfall.
This is... He's recovered ground just because of the way it branched out. What I'm trying to say is I think he's taken more steps than the waterfall cave is long. Yes. It's just because it loops like that, where the choices are, has forced him to walk a lot extra.
Well, waterfall is set up in such a way where it does technically loop in the vanilla game. It's just there's a wall blocking you from being able to access the full loop. You start at one end of the dungeon, and you basically walk all the way to the other end of the dungeon where it would loop, and there's a little wall that blocks you from it. So you get
that's true of every dungeon. Everything would loop if
you just actually get to see it in Waterfall. So it's one of those things where you can get a loop on any of the floors that have a loop on them. It just so happens that Waterfall this time actually decided to generate with one, and I think it's thrown Caleb off his game, because he wasn't expecting it, so whatever internal map he was building for himself is now completely thrown off.
And actually, Sky 4th floor is another example of that. It does loop on itself.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's going to catch you off guard if you're not expecting it as a player the first time you come in. You start walking north, you keep walking north, and then you find the exit back down, and you're like, what?
Well, chat, you don't need to bless RNG because you're a friend of mine. He's required this evening.
Caleb is looped again. Oh, Caleb, you're spending so much time here. Just go turn in that herb. You don't need to be here.
He does want to come back, is the problem.
Ouch.
Moved the fighter down so that it had less chance of getting hit. And
Got
thrown
buffs.
the tempers.
Tempers and a lock, too. So that's really nice to have right there. Gets the Cure 4 off early, so that's... Yeah. That's another nice round for the War Mech to be able to just whack at you and not have to worry. Oh!
That wasn't a lot of HP.
No. War Mech rolled low, and that 800 was enough to kill him. And now he's moved on with a good boodle of experience, already in the low to mid 20s right there.
Talked earlier about you want to hit 24 for Topher. Our last fiend is Kraken. Wasting time with nukes. Frack strats all the way, man.
Yeah, he's preparing for overwhelming damage instead of going Brack. I mean, you got the Bracks, you got a meme, because oftentimes it is faster.
Now you're gonna go damage because you can't have that much more. Quad X would have been great there. Would have been near guaranteed to work.
Oh yeah, I mean...
Yeah, it would have worked if 240 killed him.
Yeah, at the flags you're looking at, there's very little chance Kraken rolled higher than that. So this puts Dangwu, in the span of how long it's taken Caleb to actually search Waterfall, Dangwu actually did a dungeon and a half and has now taken the lead in crystals and is on his way, presumably, to Topher.
Does he not have the Lit 3 sword on the knight?
I'm guessing he doesn't.
Well, let that be a lesson to you.
Hopefully
I'm not sure what the lesson is, but let it be a lesson.
Lesson is you could have killed these mummies in 2 rounds if you had the Lit 3 sword on you, dude. He has at least made it through Waterfall now. Waterfall did have an
Now he thinks that's a good idea. I got through all those mummies and all I got was this house here. Yeah, you should have checked those chests since he was there in case of ribbon.
He spent so long there and earned so many levels. Like the time investment at that point, I can't fault him for leaving, and yet at the same time, I feel like I've invested so much, I want to at least walk out the levels I got.
Well, yeah, he would have had to walk out because he lost the flag.
Yeah, Lit 3!
Find out! Find out what's there.
I know, exactly, and that's you spent so long. You do the last couple checks before you decide to bail.
Meanwhile, Dangwu is first into Temple Fiends Revisited at 1 hour 18 minutes. Oh, big ass dragons, as I like to call this, the encounter that broke the experience scale.
It did. And it's
so,
still
fun fact, if you didn't know this, when you start doing multiples of experience, this encounter was worth so much that it overflowed the vanilla values. Thus, what happens is you actually see smaller numbers on these fights than vanilla, but the experience per level has gone down proportionately so that it matches up. So if you're on double experience, it only takes half as much experience to level up.
Yeah, I think that was like the first spring tournament where we saw that, and by the time the second spring tournament rolled around for the randomizer, the devs already had a fix in there to... Instead of, doubling the amount of experience you got, it just did the math on how much you needed to lower it down by the same percentage so that the gas dragons could be actually worth what they were worth and you could get proper experience off of it.
Well, plus we
That's
can
why-
get multiple levels per fight now, so that helps too.
Oh, that's such a nice upgraded feature. Not having to see like one level at a time and then go fight some levels, or watch your character level up, tick, 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 tick. Like just getting it all grouped up at once, so much better.
Caleb still has to clear Mirage Tower.
I feel like Caleb is a little on tilt here. Like, that waterfall was awful, and it took him so long, and he's taking his time now on stuff. Like, he's not playing his normal fast self. It feels a little tilted. Not that I can blame him.
Throwing a Quake out, I love it.
Yeah. I mean,
Chance to work.
it's basically a 25% chance. It's no harm in doing this if you get a good crapshoot. Not that Lich had any health. Classic Gamer 76 noting in chat that a waterfall like that would tilt anyone. I am 100% in agreement. That was an awful waterfall, and I can't blame him. I'm just paying attention to his style and noting and hoping that he's able to get back on track and recover. Because the Tophers that we've seen in these flags can be awful, and just because Danglu currently has a dungeon and a half lead doesn't mean that it's really anything. One bad Topher wipe, and Caleb's back in the game.
He hit 24, so he's got the Mossum swing. That was the biggest goal you want before you get here. Now, you still look at a full damage nuke, and it takes out the 3 red mages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
if he gets bad
nothing
roll,
is a given.
yeah. If he gets a bad roll to nuke or a nuclear, there's a chance his red mages die. But there's also a chance that on low rolls of nuke, his fighter could actually take 2 of them and still survive. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Now,
I
we
like
haven't
the odds.
seen any of the nasty skills out of... Well, obviously we didn't see much out of Lich. We didn't see anything particularly nasty out of Warmech, though. So that means the options for the nasty are either they were hiding in scripts where we didn't see them yet, or there's some pretty unpleasant stuff ahead.
Oof, and Carrie gets a lucky stop out and stuns 2 of the party members.
Quadex is a solid play here. I think that's close.
He tried.
Bane! That was probably through a ribbon?
I think it was. Pretty sure that was through a ribbon. Luckily, he has life and cure 4, so it's not super costly. No ribbon.
It's not. Okay.
Well,
Let that be a lesson to you.
I mean, yes, but not against Carrie. I think I wouldn't have worried too much about it until Kraken or Tiamat. Like, I like to put ribbon on my life casters to keep them alive more than anything, because nothing hurts more than having Bane kill all your life casters and then you're stuck with just one party.
Doesn't the knight have life? Yeah,
Level 3, it would depend on what slot it was in.
buddy. Seafood Party Platter is getting in our way, but there he gets out of it.
Okay,
That's
life
his life.
so,
Knight.
yeah. Hopefully he has it then.
About to get Wormack for Caleb. Few nachos in the way first. Gonna heat him up in the microwave. Alright, Wormack on the left, Kraken on the right. Whose hits are harder? Fight, fight, fight.
Well, 986 damage from a simple tentacle whack, and that'll put down a red mage.
Yeah, it wouldn't do that much damage against a knight because of the better armor. Quadex finishes off the job. But that still would have been a mighty painful hit.
Yeah. I think he's very glad he moved his fighter down to the 3rd slot so he didn't get whacked by that. No one likes a Kraken whacking.
And then there's this. This can crit a lot. Actually, he's lucky there aren't more whiz vampires.
Yes, he is. The Twilight cosplay pack, as we like to call it,
Meanwhile, Caleb versus Kraken about to get his final orb.
Thing is, he doesn't really need the experience at that point, but 5,000 experience is never anything to scoff at. If he had to take it for just to get out of that pack, he just baited them a couple times and they were done. But that 5,000 is going to go a long way to getting another level. Every level counts at this point. A little more damage.
So noteworthy, Dangler was using Cure 4 rather than heal potions to save time. However, he used it down to just 1 on that red mage, and personally, I'd much rather have 2 and use the heal potions. Because Cure 4 you can take into battle, but heal potions in battle get worse.
Well, Tiamat just hit one of the guys. I think that she hit him for the full damage. So that wasn't. I mean, I saw an instant slain, but I think it was just a single hit that was so bad. Hopefully, she doesn't have Death Touch because that would be scary. But then she double inks, so that's scary. And gone.
About 1,200 HP, so
yeah.
We did not see any of the nukes, the nuclears, the stuff that can really wreck you.
I think he should be happy that all he saw from her was 1 hit and inks, because if she was punch happy, she could have gone right down the party list and, like dominoes, just knocked them all over.
Tiamat was low enough at that point, Quad X was going to work. But if that first hit had come out against the Knight, then 1,200 HP would have been a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
Here we go, it's Chaos time! How much is Chaos going to be of a final boss, as Caleb enters just as Danglu is on the fight? So if something goes horribly wrong, there's a chance.
So he double invised and then fasted and tempered his fighter so far. And he's got his fighter in his 3rd slot, so he's basically long-hauling this right here for the fighter and not expecting everyone else to survive. Get his lock 2 off. 2 more temper check. Casts are going to come out against the fighter, and fighter's going to come out swinging. Already 10 hits for 640. This Tiamat, this Kraken does not have... This Chaos does not have a lot of absorb.
No, and the spells are not coming. Your danger is when they hit early. Mm-hmm. But with lock hitting, you're already getting him in that much. The crits are going to add up. And 1,000 damage is going to do it. Dangwoo is going to take down Chaos. Finishes in first with a time of 1:27 and 10 seconds. GG's for
Honestly,
Dangwoo.
For these flags that we've been running, 1:27 is a blistering pace. That was super fast.
That was about 10 minutes to clear Topher with all the bosses.
Mm-hmm. He did that amazingly, and I think it's because Dangwoo focused on the strats that work best for Dangwoo. He's not trying new party comps or doing spicy things or experimenting with what the flag set can do, as he has for the last few weeks. As we're going to ask him when he comes in for an interview, whenever that happens, he came in, played the exact way he likes to play, and used that to the best of his advantage, and he just rocked right through the scene. And here he is.
Yeah.
Dangwoo, GG's!
GG! Oh.
How big's the party tonight?
Oh, it is great, let me tell you. And I just realized that Caleb just entered. Oh my goodness!
He essentially entered the second you hit Chaos.
I'm not gonna lie, when I ran into that 7-pack of Team Edward fan clubs and they ambushed me, I was really terrified because I was rocking, chain armor on my red mages, and I was scared.
Yeah, it didn't seem like you checked a lot of chests once you hit Go mode, and your equipment build-out was basically opals on your fighter and then prayer on the rest of your characters.
Yep, pretty much.
But I mean, when you got Cure 4s and Lice to go around, it's not that dire.
True, yeah. I mean, that's kind of how it went, and I was just like, I got, life on the Knight, so as long as he doesn't get annihilated by Kraken that hit hard.
Or, Poison Smoke terminated.
Oh god, that was awkward. So awkward.
Did you intend to move the ribbon before that and just forget, or was it the case you thought you had the ribbon?
I completely forgot I had 2 ribbons and I didn't move it over. Like, I had already planned out Etap was going to be my sacrificial red mage because he didn't have a ribbon. And then I just forgot about the ribbon, and then when my knight got paralyzed, I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to move that ribbon afterwards. And then Bane hit, and I'm like, no. Please no.
Not like this.
Please not.
You didn't
like
see a
this.
lot of nastiness out of the fiends other than carries HP, but turns out Lich had damage poison.
Yeah, I ran into that one. That was fun.
Oh, didn't see that.
You ran into it on Lich 1, but Lich 2 had
Lich
it
2
as well.
had it.
Oh, Lich 2 had it also? I mean,
Yeah.
I one-turned it, you know. It was probably a Quake or something that hit it anyways, you know. I'm not like Caleb here who can't kill a Lich in one turn.
You also brought out the Brack strats, didn't you?
I did. It was hilarious because he goes, I don't
First
have
shot.
Brack. Yeah, he goes, I don't have Brack. I go, huh, that's awkward because I looked at mine. I go, I got a couple casts.
So Caleb went with black mages, you brought red mages, and then you get the dream. You get level 1 Fade.
Level 1 Fade. Level 2 had some nice spells. Level 3 had Nuke and Life. And I said, alright, going all red mages with a fighter at this point.
It's a gorgeous build out. Did you at any point consider maybe doing a double fighter, double red, or was triple red always your plan?
I was going to go with the 3 casters. I like to be aggressive with my spells, especially with Lock 2 being available. So I can cast a Lock. I had the Fast Axe, Temper, and Invis cast if I need it. Like, it just gave me a lot more flexibility than having a fighter, another fighter, I felt.
Alright, so I want to take you back to an hour ago as best we can do. And I'll tell on myself, because I got fooled here.
Okay.
What your thought process was in Marsh when you found the fire sword.
When I found the... Oh, yes! The Bane sword that got replaced.
Yes.
Well,
Well, I will own up.
I said, thanks, Danny. You know, your weapon magic is excellent today.
Yeah, I don't think you saw anything worthwhile weapon magic. The reason we ask is because both Trenton and I got confused, and for, I would say, a good 15 minutes there, we're thinking the fire sword wasn't the Bane sword, but the defense sword. Even though we clearly saw the icon, we kept getting it confused in our head.
Now, this is hilarious is the fact that... Sorry. Caleb also got ambushed by the Team Edward fan club, but I confused it, but I never actually took it as part of my loose count at all. And I kind of was counting it as a defense sword until I found another one, and I said, wait, that's not a key item at all. So it almost cost me, and then I'm sure you guys said it was the Earth Cave, where I walked out without checking any chests on the way back, and I go, I translate and go, wait, I don't have access to Lafane. Oh, man. The walk of shame back to Earth Cave. I'm like, it's either in Marsh North or it's in Earth Cave. Luckily, it was right there, so...
I got a valuable lesson in not doubting the runners too much, because you also released the fairy early.
I released the... What was that?
Release
Fairy?
the fairy.
Oh, yes. That was... Oh, yeah. See, look at... I'm glad I didn't go very far into Tiamat's thing. Yeah, I was trying to get used to casting... Or, manipulating the heal potions to being in that one spot. You know? And so there was
that's not
like...
a lot of heal potions.
Oh, wow.
Save them. Save them. You're gonna get another encounter.
Oh, no. Oh, and ambushed. Ouch.
I have said before, I'll say again, you always plan on getting another encounter before you get off Tiamat's floor.
Wow, Twilight does not want to let go.
They don't. And they hit... Ooh...
Like
The victory lap to wrap this up.
nice victory lap.
It was
The Dangwoo victory lap.
well. It was funny is I'm like, okay, I'm in Chaos's floor. Do you mind if I do a victory lap? And I go, wait, why would I do this right now? I don't even know if I can kill Chaos right now. I had to ask Caleb. I was like, so what was the defense sword? Because I never found it because I didn't go to ordeals and stuff like that. He's like, it was lit 3. I'm like, I didn't miss much. All right.
I mean, useful to have, but not exactly dire.
Yeah, exactly. And these
So we know this chaos can hit, and Caleb does not have the defensive spells. But we also know this chaos doesn't have evade.
He doesn't. He doesn't have evade. He didn't have a lot of absorb. The whole trick is just, I think, overwhelming damage as best as you can. Because, yeah, as you said right there, Chaos can hit. And he hits hard.
And he doesn't have a lot of HP.
No, nothing. Like, that was what, maybe around 1,000?
If that.
Yeah.
Caleb finishes with time of 1:35:43. 40 SRL.
Caleb,
Such a
GG!
things.
Hey, thank you, Darkmoon. Gee, you dang woo. I'm so proud of you.
I'm proud of me too.
You did so good.
I'm really sad though because apparently you got lost in Waterfall, but you were still 7 minutes behind me finishing. So
Yeah, I feel like I was in a waterfall for literally 15 minutes.
so in other words, you're
We
probably in there
didn't know
for
to
like 2.
time it at the time, but I commented at one point, I'm pretty sure you had walked more steps than were in Waterfall, and that was like 3 minutes before you were done.
Yeah.
Waterfall.
Yeah, honestly, you got into Waterfall while he was halfway into Volcano, and you didn't finish Waterfall until he was done with Sky Palace. You spent a dungeon and a half in there.
Yeah, that's about right. I was in there for a very long time, and for it to pay off with the ruby was just sort of like a kick in the teeth. But especially
Then
because
you didn't even check chests for a rip.
yeah, I didn't have a feasible quick way out of there other than resetting, because when I rebought the knight to get the extra spell charges, because I'm such a smart person, I didn't re-equip all the gear on him when I didn't discover that until I was in Ice Cave, and B, I forgot to rebuy the life spell that I bought for him. So he was, yeah. So once I lost both the black mages, I was like, I'll just bring him back to life. Oh, I forgot to rebuy life. So, and that's why I had that fight with all the mummies just by punching them, because I also didn't make the heads-up play to move the
lit 3 sword.
Yeah. So it was the rebuying the knight screwed me up way more than just having one fewer spell charge early on. So lesson learned there.
So as of the completion of this, we have 3 Fridays left on the road to SG Live.
Mm-hmm.
So that means SG Live will be our Sweet 16, Dangwoo.
I'm so excited. Let me tell you. Wait, is it though?
Well, this is our 12th race. Next week will be 13, 14, 15, and then SG Live will be 16.
Wow.
I did math live on Twitch and I didn't pay for it.
Not counting practice races beforehand.
Wait,
Ooh, practice race.
what are these practices you speak of, Tridden?
I don't know,
Practice?
something pro strats people do. I just
That's-
show up.
That's for those good people like crab cakes and you and stuff like that. I mean, we just kind of bumble our ways around and go, oh look, I found a fast axe. Let's use it every now and then.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I noticed that both of you guys went with fighters this time instead of doing the black belt. Was that a specific conscious decision on your part, or was it just because you didn't find black belts convenient?
Well, for me, it was 100% conscious, because last week when I did the black belt grind and lost the black belt, essentially lost 5 minutes on my run and still managed to beat Dangwoo. I was like, I'm probably losing a lot of time in all of these seeds by doing a black belt grind when I can just take a fighter. I'm gonna find the Masa more often than not, so might as well. And I figured if anything, it might allow me to save 5 minutes each race. And had it done a black belt grind here, I don't think it wouldn't have helped me with that waterfall at all. So. And I don't know where I would have found the time to black belt grind other than the 15 minutes that I spent in waterfall.
Yeah, I don't think this one would have been very good for a black belt grind.
No, and
Or like
all the temple other than Tia, all of the Temple of Fiends bosses were, or the Topher bosses were, cake. Like they were paper thin.
Mm-hmm.
So
I noticed Kraken. It didn't try and swing on you. How lucky.
Kraken killed my my back row black wizard.
Oh, he did. Oh, okay.
And then my knight
Also got the first one.
Yeah, the knight just blew him up right afterwards for like 1,300 damage. It was awesome. But GG Dangwoo, I'm proud of you, man.
I mean, I wish I would have won a little bit, a little harder or something. I mean, when you spend all that time in a waterfall, I mean, that actually is kind of depressing.
I don't know. I think
I'll have to go back and watch the VOD and actually start like a timer from the minute I walk into.
Yeah, it's an 8-minute difference between you two. And I think, honestly, with the amount of time you spent in Waterfall and the fact that, dang, you were able to go mode, Volcano and Sky, I kind of feel like the 8 minutes was, like, enough right there that you probably still would have won, even if Caleb hadn't spent, like, 40 years wandering through the waterfall.
I don't know about that. I don't know if he would have. Because, I mean, I also got to go mode Volcano and Sky. And, yeah, so I think it would have been pretty close. And it was just, unfortunately, like, my gambles didn't pay off. Like, when I was like, if I can skip the Onrak Continent altogether, that'll be awesome. And then Lit 3 Sword and Ordeals, the Masa down in Lefane. And I was like, or it was the Opal Bracelet, I think. I was like,
Yeah.
And then, so, like, and then finding out that, dang, like, we were talking as he was in Topher. And he was like, yeah, I didn't do Ordeals. He's like, you do Ordeals? And I was like, yeah. So I also did Ordeals on top of it all. So it was, I'm fine with this time. I mean, in my mind, it's just the waterfall that jacked me up here. This was probably the trolliest Proc Gen waterfall I've seen. So
Thanks,
it was
Danny.
a doozy. It was special.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Leggy Starscream, for the joy that you have wrought upon this world in the Proc Gen waterfall.
And thank you, Danny the Fantastic, for not only being our tracker tonight, but rolling that one.
Yeah. Thanks, Danny. Appreciate it.
Dango, winner's prerogative. Any final thoughts?
Just trying to carry the momentum. Can't let Caleb get any more ego, momentum moving forward, because it's already huge as is. Like, I get messages all the time from him. So, ready to lose this week? You ready to lose this week? I'm like, wow, man, you could be a little nicer to me. Jeez, I'm like losing 3 in a row right now.
You're such a liar. I am nothing but positive and supportive with you, Dangwoo.
I beg to differ.
Telling you how much you mean to me, how important you are, how fun this is to do with you every week. And you spin these lies.
I know. No, it's a lot of fun. And I appreciate everybody that comes out, and Trenton and Darkmoon. I can't wait to meet you guys at the SG Live. It's going to be a lot of fun for this marathon.
Heck of a lot of fun.
We are getting closer. Caleb, any final thoughts?
Dangwoo called it when we were rolling the seeds, and because the beta site kind of hung a minute for the seed to actually generate, and he's like, oh, probably going to be a long waterfall. So I should have listened. My thoughts, I mean, win or lose, I have fun running these races, and it's a lot of fun getting to do voice chat with Dang while we're racing. It helps me not get tilted a lot. So, yeah, So it's just a lot of fun. I have a great time doing this, and I want to thank you, Trenton, for doing comms for the race, and thank you, Dark Moon, for doing comms every week, and Danny for doing tracking nearly every week as well. It's been a ton of fun doing these. I can't wait for next week.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to SG Live. Hope everybody enjoys the rest of the road there and joins us for the marathon. And before I hand things off to Caleb, I'll just say calm and rando on.
And with that, we want to thank everyone for watching. Thanks, Speed Gaming, for hosting us every week here for our regular matches. Want to make sure you guys give follows to our runners, Caleb and Dingwoo, of course, our support staff, including myself, Trenton, and Danny3883, who has been helping out with us basically every week that we've been doing this. And for another great night here on the road to SG Live, I want to say thank you and good night.